Alright, hopefully I'm gonna knock out a couple gear reviews today. I actually tried to make these videos last night. I recorded 3 videos and did them back to back as I had the time, and they I felt like the video and the audio on all of them was not to my standards. This is my backup camera, but it's the camera that I prefer to use for these videos, and it just doesn't record well in low light. And it was last night, so I only had the lighting that was in the house, no natural lighting, and it just isn't bright enough. The 60-watt bulbs or whatever we have just aren't bright enough. The last video that I published was the King of Glocks video, and I liked how that video came out. I really liked how the product was. It was simple. I got my point across, and I thought it was much better than the old-fashioned way that I used to do it, which was the kneeling in front of the camera with like the 870 video or the Sega video, and I never liked those. I wasn't happy with them at the time, but I didn't really have a good workspace, and that was the best that I could do. I felt with what I had at the time. And the other thing was, I really was not used to talking into a camera at that point. And I'm still not, but I'm much better than I was. Just doing it for some of the hiking videos that we did a couple of years ago really helped with that, and some other projects I've done since then have really helped with that. And I could do it a lot better now than I could, then, but still not that great. I'm still getting used to it. And you sound different when you're on camera, and that's something that takes getting used to. But it's not really that I feel like I have something really to offer, because I feel like I don't. And I wish I could find something that I had to offer more than some other guys. But I do, for me personally, I do know that like when I'm buying a product, I like to get as many different opinions about something as I can. Sometimes if you just follow like one main person, and get all of your gear reviews from the same main person, you're subject only to that person's opinion. And even though they might like a product and the product might be okay, there may be some drawbacks that that person doesn't recognize that maybe somebody else will. So if I have any value, I think it's that, as far as reviewing gear. Um, so that's why I'm going to continue to do it. And if it ends up never being that popular, I'll stop. My one video has like 10,000 views, which is not really that many for a YouTube video, but I thought it was okay for me, and if I get that kind of response with a couple more videos, like my, I'll keep doing it. And if that's the only one that's, even lowly successful like that, um, then I'll stop. And I'll just do the hiking videos like I do. But I just feel like I have a lot of gear. I'm very opinionated, so I should probably make some reviews. That's the way I feel about it. Um, like I said, I made this video last night. The audio was terrible. I had the window open in the room that I was in, and you couldn't hear a word I was saying. So hopefully you can hear me today. Um, and I don't have to record this for a fourth time, because this is the third time, because I did it twice last time. This review is going to be about a product I really like. Actually, this is going to be a good review. I usually look into purchases that I make for a long time before I ever purchase them. Uh, I'll search YouTube reviews. I'll look at reviews of the product on Amazon. I'll look at reviews of the product, on REI, Campmore, if it's a hiking product, whatever the websites are that are, involved with that product, or that sell that type of product. I'll sit there and read. Sometimes if it's something that costs a good amount of money, I'll sit there and read sometimes probably tens or maybe even 100 reviews of something. Sometimes on Amazon you'll see a product will have 300 reviews. I don't know if I read 300, but I certainly will read maybe as many as 100 sometimes. So I wanted to, with this product specifically, I wanted to set the record straight, because when I was looking into products along the lines of this product, um, and I was looking at the competition, I was, kind of stuck between a couple of different choices. I was 3 different choices specifically, and the reviews on the one that I ended up getting kind of had me second guessing myself, and I really wasn't sure if I had made the right choice until I received the product. Okay, well, that's enough keeping it secret, especially when I probably put the name of the product in the title. What am I talking about? This here is the Ontario Marine Raider from the Spec Plus series. This is a large survival style Bowie knife. Okay. Alright, first I'm going to start off with reviewing the knife and tell you what I like about it, and tell you the features of it. And then I'll tell you why I was second guessing myself on getting it, and and what the reviews were saying that I totally don't agree with now that I have the product. Okay, here it is. You take a look at it. It's, that's what it looks like. Okay. It's kind of funny when people do like a knife review, and their knife review is like 30 minutes long. Like, it's a knife, especially especially if it's like a fixed blade. I mean, it's a knife. It's a big piece of metal with a sharp edge. Hopefully it's one piece, and so it's really funny. I'm gonna try not to overcomplicate this, but at the same time, I'm going to try and hit all the points that I think are relevant. Hopefully I can get through this fast, and I'm trying to draw from memory all the points that I was making last night without forgetting anything, and hopefully I can do that. If not, I'll probably put it in annotation. Okay, first things first. When I first received this knife, the first thing that caught my attention, well, first it looked cool, okay? I had it in the package. Then I checked the edge. The edge was, it was decent. I mean, could have been better, I thought, but it had an edge on it. Then I picked it up. First thing I noticed, man, this thing is heavy. And I've had this knife a while now. I've had it over a year, and I've used it. I mean, do you think I've used it? And the first thing I thought was, man, this thing is heavy. But I'm like, okay, large survival knife. Yeah, it's going to be heavy. Okay, so no surprise there, but I was actually happy with it, because to me the weight meant that this thing is going to be a good chopper, right? It's going to be good at chopping. So, which is one reason that I wanted it. A lot of times when I go hiking, I don't carry an axe or saw. I might just have a knife on me. Maybe I'll have one this big, probably not, but certainly when I first got it, I was carrying it all the time, because, like when I'm like a kid, when I get something new, I have to play with it like a toy. Anyway, and I was like, man, this thing's heavy, but, that's okay. The other thing that I didn't like right away was that this handle is, well, this knife, first of all, is huge. Alright, you see how big it is. I don't know the exact measurements off the top of my head. I don't remember what they are. I'll look them up, and then I'll add them to the video. But the second biggest knife I have is like 7.5 inches. Okay, so this thing just blows that out of the water. And I wasn't considering all things when I had had purchased this, I ordered it online, so when I received it and I picked it up, I was like, man, that is a thick handle. And I didn't like it at very first. I thought, man, that handle is fat, and it's huge. I mean, it almost felt like the grip to a small gun. I mean, it's just big. Especially here where this hump is, it's not skinny right here and it's skinny here, but where that hump is just huge. And I didn't like it. This handle is covered in a rubbery material, and I don't know what they call it, if they have a proprietary name for this or if they use uh, another product, I'm not sure. But it's just like a hard rubber coating, um, with moderate traction. Pretty, I mean, good. The kind of traction that you would want. You wouldn't want this to be too soft. Um, and it's grippy, but it's thick. Now, I've gotten used to that because I've used this knife a lot, and it doesn't feel thick to me anymore. So it was just something that I had to get used to. It really wasn't a negative feature of the knife. At the time that I initially got it, I thought it was. But if you had small hands, that might be a problem. This does not have this. That's pretty fat. And it's thick this. That's the other thing, is it's real thick this way. Um, Other than that, I really like the handle. I like the handle shape. I probably could have done without the little swell there. But I love the end here. I love the end cap. And I don't know if this is still part of the steel. The steel shield still, it is a full shank. Um, but I'm not sure if right here on the end what they have going on, if that's how the steel is actually shaped that way, or if there's a cap on there. I'm not sure. I do know that it's rock hard. Listen, I mean, that thing is hard, and you could definitely bash something with it. I wouldn't go hammering nails with it unless I was in a survival situation, because you can definitely tear this rubber up on here. I actually did it to a small extent right there. I don't know if you can see it. Just accidentally just carrying it in my pack or whatever, but this is rock hard. You could definitely bash somebody with that if you had to. If you were going to use this as a defensive blade, it's kind of a huge defensive blade. But I guess if you happen to have it and a bear attacked you or something, hiking, or maybe you're carrying it every day with you in your truck or something. Okay, yeah, you get bashed with it. The handle. The other knives that I was stuck between was this one, the Ontario Marine Raider, and I was looking for a large survival knife, hiking knife, backpacking knife, camping knife, something to split wood with. Um, I actually do prefer to. I have done a lot of both, and I prefer to split wood for a campfire with a knife over a camp axe, um, or even a large axe. To be honest, splitting wood with a large axe is kind of scary to me. I haven't done a lot. It's not something that I'm really practiced with. I'm not good at it, and as such, I could easily picture myself missing the block, and maybe ending up in a situation where the blade is coming back towards my legs. And with a camp axe, to me, it just takes a lot of work. Like, I'm talking about one of those little, supposedly packable axes. It just is a lot of work. They don't weigh enough. And I'm a strong guy, and you can be, really just going at a piece of wood with a camp axe sometimes, and it just takes forever to split. And I just think that this is safer and easier to do. And that's just my opinion, and it's going to be different for everybody. I realize that, and if you've grown up all your life, splitting wood with axes, I'm sure that you can make it look easy and totally prove me wrong. But for me, I just prefer split wood with a knife. So I was looking for a large knife, and I was stuck between this, the K-Bar Heavy Bowie, and the RTAC 2. I really like the RTAC 2. That would have been probably my choice, and I'm not sure, that knife might even be bigger than this one. I don't remember because I haven't looked at it in years since I bought this one. But the thing I didn't like about the RTAC 2 was that it cost like $80 or $90, and this knife was like $50. All right. And the other thing was, and this is the same for the K-Bar Heavy Bowie, was that this had the guard on it. And the Artec 2, I believe, has maybe like something like this where your hand will stay put. It may have a shape similar to this, but it does not have a guard, and neither does the Heavy Bowie at all. And I do believe they both have well-shaped handles, but I just liked that extra protection. I just can't see any way that your hand would slip off of here and onto here. I mean, I don't know how that could happen. This is just really safe, and I really like that about it. Um, the other thing I liked about this was, compared to the Heavy Bowie, this was heavier. So the Heavy Bowie's not that heavy, and this is actually a little bit longer. Not much, just a little bit. Actually, a friend of mine bought the K-Bar Heavy Bowie, and that was another reason why I went with this. Was I thought it would be kind of cool not to have the same knife. He went with that one, I think, a few months before I made a final decision on mine. And I didn't like the idea of us both getting the same one, although he really likes his. So I think that's a good choice too. I've checked it out, and I liked it too. I would have been happy with that one, but I think I made the right decision, and I'm more happy with this one. The spine on this thing is thick, and I don't know if it's thicker than the Heavy Bowie. I think it's the same as the Artec 2. But one thing that I really liked about this knife over both of those is the look. This one, when I was trying to choose a knife, the thing that I really loved about this one over any other survival knife, pretty much, that I have come across, was the look. I mean, this thing just looks like something that Rambo might have been carrying. I mean, it really does. It's just, it's cool, I mean, if it had teeth back here, the cheesy boyer cutting teeth back here, Rambo might have had this knife. I mean, the Bowie design, it's just, I mean, they call it the Marine Raider. It has a somewhat of a K-bar handle, I suppose. But it really looks like something that a pirate might have had. Um, you know, Other than looking modern, it's just, and look at the tip on this thing. What a beast, and the tip is sharp. You could definitely use this defensively. That's not what I picture this knife being, but it certainly has that look to it, and I think that's cool. And, if I'm going to put $50 or more into a knife, which $50 for a knife this size, I mean, are you kidding me? I've paid, more than that for folders, for folding knives, little pocket knives, that's a steal. I don't know if they're still going for that price. I don't even know if they're still making these. But if they're still making these and they're still selling them for that price, you need to buy like 3 of them. I actually want another one just because I've used this one quite a bit, and I want one that the finish is. I think that's cool with the finish like this because it looks like I've really used it, which I have. And but I want one that's pristine, just to hang around in my house, just for me to look at and fondle, I guess. Um, but this is just, to me, this is just a cool looking knife, and survival knives, for whatever reason, I guess maybe to make them more efficient at survival tasks, they don't have like a sort of defensive or even offensive look to them like this. A lot of times they have the different shaped blades, not the Bowie style. Even the K-Bar Heavy Bowie it's not this extreme of a Bowie shape. I know the Artec 2, I think, has a flat grind, and then was it like a clip blade, I think. Um, and it's just not as cool looking to me. I think this is really kind of badass looking. It does have the hole right there with the grommet for, you could put a lanyard on there. I know, the famous YouTube gear reviewer, Nothing Fancy, always recommends having you have a lanyard in there. I actually recommend that you don't, and the reason is that when you're hacking at a tree, let's say, or whatever you're hacking at, let's say that you lose the knife, and that can happen. I tell you what, the first tree I ever hacked down with this thing, it was a dead tree. Um, don't go hacking down live trees. We cut enough of those down as it is. But I went hacking at a dead tree for some firewood. I tell you, and I'm a strong guy, and even more so at the time. And it wasn't very long before my hand was tired. My hand was, beat. And because you're sitting there and you're hacking at the tree, this knife weighs a couple pounds, and I'll probably annotate the exact weight. And just from holding on to this thing and the fat handle, I mean, your hand gets tired. My hand was tired. So I can easily see a situation where you're fatigued and you accidentally let go of that knife. Well, if you have a lanyard wrapped around your wrist and you let go of this knife, or even if it slipped out of your hands, forget the hand being tired. Let's say it just slips out of your hand. Where's that knife going to go? It's going to swing on that lanyard, and a knife this size is going to come right back towards your body. The blade is going to swing under your arm and right back towards you. Maybe cut your belly, maybe cut your legs. If you got a smaller knife, swing back, hit you underneath in the arm. Especially if you keep a sharp blade on there or a sharp point on there. I just don't recommend doing that. And I know that Nothing Fancy will advocate you don't want your knife going flying into your buddy. Well, I know when I'm hacking down a tree or doing any kind of chopping with a knife or any kind of edged weapon or edged tool, I make sure that my friends or whoever's with me are, to the side and to the back, not in front of me nor near in, this direction, this direction here. Um, because that's just so dangerous anyway. It's just like shooting or anything else. You don't want nobody out in front of that muzzle. You don't want nobody out in front of that blade. The only thing I could see happening without the lanyard is that maybe the knife comes down into your foot. Just always be careful with your edged weapons and your edged tools, and watch what you're doing. And like I said, I do not recommend a lanyard, but that's in no way professional advice or legal advice. Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. This knife is made out of 1095 steel, which is a carbon steel, and it will rust. Okay, so you do need to keep this knife oiled. I don't know if it shows up on camera, but I have it well oiled right now. It was actually oiled for storage, so it was over oiled. But when I pulled it out last night, I wiped some of it off. I have a trip coming up, actually next weekend or next week, and this thing will get some use, and hopefully I'll get a couple of videos out of that trip. It's going to be a lot of fun, I hope. And you just have to be careful. I'll carry some oil with me because this will rust, and I'm trying to see if there's any little bit of surface rust I can show you. But I guess there's not. I generally, like I said, I keep it oiled pretty well. I have a nice edge on here right now. It's not hair shaving sharp, but it's pretty sharp, and I'm testing a couple knife sharpeners right now. I want to get my hands on a couple more. So I do have a pretty good blade on there right now. And actually I have some sap on there. I don't know if that will show up. There's actually some sap in there. I've cut down more trees with this thing than I have with my saw vibra. And that's the truth. And the reason for that is a little bit was because I wanted to test how this thing hacked down a tree. If this was all I had, if this was the only tool I had, I want to know how it's going to do. And, I want to know for myself. I don't want to watch a video. I don't know. I have to burp every video I make. I don't think I go through my day and actually burp that many times. But whenever I'm making a video, I have to burp. I don't know. It's just weird. It's like sitting here and talking. It just makes me have to burp. It's weird. You know, it's funny too because it always makes me feel like I'm super fat, like I just ate or something. And now I'm burping and I'm always making these videos after eating. This is not the case. And also, I also noticed I'm like making these videos and I'm watching them last night with the low quality. And this isn't the most flattering camera angle. But I'm just like, man, I'm fat. Like, I need to lose some friggin' weight. Holy crap. This is funny, man. But, anyway. Anyway, what was I saying? I don't even remember what I was saying. But, yeah, I really like this knife. I'm going to call this video One Bad Mamma-Jamma because that's what this knife is. It's one bad Mamma-Jamma. And, I recommend it. And before I forget, the one thing that I wanted to address was actually not the knife. I had mentioned earlier that when I was trying to choose a knife, when I was looking for one that was going to be, my go-to survival knife, and I was reading all the reviews. I was reading reviews on, I remember Amazon specifically. I was reading them basically on every. I usually buy knives in person. I hardly ever order them. This one I did. So I was at some websites that I usually don't go to. I think like Cutlery Shop, and I might have read some reviews on there. I read some on I think Midway USA actually, and I seen some video reviews. I seen 2 or 3 video reviews of the knife, and I kept seeing and hearing mentions of like, well, the knife is awesome, but the sheath is kind of weird. The sheath is kind of sucks, and the sheath is kind of some, it's like different things. Like people kept mentioning that you had to put the knife into the sheath in some kind of weird way, and I remember reading just like multiple reviews that the snaps on the sheath were like impossible to snap with one hand. You could never use this knife in a defensive situation because you can't unsnap the snaps on the sheath with one hand. So you'd have to have your other hand come over and unsnap it with 2 hands because that's how hard the buttons were to unsnap. So you'd never be able to draw it with one hand. And I was like, man, that really sucks, Like, I don't really consider this to be like a defensive blade purchase, but man, I would like it to be able to fill that role. And if those snaps are that hard, and you really have to tug on them, and with two hands and to get it out, and I'm like, why did they design that sheath so funny, where you gotta kind of put the blade in there at an angle, and you gotta, stick it like in there sideways first, and then stick it down, and that's what I was reading, and I even seen that in a video. I seen a guy doing that. Well, let me tell you. I just want to set the record straight. That's not how the sheath is at all. Here is the sheath, okay? It's nylon on this side. It's leather on the back. The leather's kind of thin. I don't know. I've had it over a year. It's held up pretty well for me. I think I've had this like a year and a half, I want to say. And it's held up pretty well for me. I noticed that right here is a spot where the tip sits, and I don't know if you see that on there. Right here is a spot where the tip sits, and it almost looks like the tip wants to poke through there. I don't know if that will happen. I hope not. No, because I really like this knife, and I don't need the tip poking through there and causing a problem. But it hasn't happened yet. It kind of seems like maybe it will. I don't know. I'll let you know if that ever happens. So anyway, when I got this knife and I opened it up and I seen the knife and I'm like, man, this knife is awesome. But here goes that terrible sheath I was reading about, and I was like, man, let me try to figure this out. And I want to figure out how it goes in there and comes out, and so I can kind of get good at it. Maybe I can develop it where I can do it fast. And first of all, I unsnapped the button and I'm like, okay, the button's kind of stiff. I mean, it feels, it feels like a high quality snap, but I certainly did it with one hand, and I'm like, well, maybe they mean like to close it, and I'm like, okay. That's odd. And it's a little easier now than it was when I first got it. This was a little more stiff when I first got it, of course. But it wasn't that hard. It wasn't that much harder. So, I'm like, okay. So maybe they got a different batch of the snaps than I did, but mine are just right. I mean, they feel strong. They feel like they're not going to come off on accident, but at the same time, I can do it easily with one hand. So I'm like, well, let me figure this sheath thing out. So when I seen it in the videos and when I was reading, it was like you kind of had to do like this. You had to stick it down this way first, and then in, and then down. And I seen people do that, and I was like, man, why would they make the sheath like that? Why can't they just get like a normal sheath? And I was thinking before I had the knife, maybe I can have like a Kydex sheath made or something like that. Well, after getting the knife and having the sheath, I realized, I don't know, those people were just full of crap, or they, I think they just didn't realize you could just slide it in there like a normal sheath, you know. And I probably did that a little bit of an angle, but that was me. I mean, see that? See, the end of it is open, and you can just slides right in there. If this was hanging on your pants, you just, well, let's look at the side view so you can see. I mean, slide it right down in there just like you would any knife on any sheath. Okay, and the retention with the two straps. First of all, just with the retention with just the strap that goes across the guard there, that's really would be all you need. They provide you a second one, which makes it really extra secure. This thing isn't going anywhere. I never understood the knives that come with the sheath that when you hang it upside down, the knife will come out. Even if it's like I have the SOG seal pup, and then the knife will come out probably about this much of the sheath, and the knife is really only probably 5 times that size, so a fifth of the knife comes dropping out of the sheath when you hang it upside down. And I just never understood why a knife company would ever release a sheath that let the knife move, under its own weight, when hung upside down. I just didn't understand that. Here maybe you can kind of see where it looks like the tip wants to poke through. If I grabbed this and pulled it this way really hard, maybe it would do that. That was something I never noticed when it was new. I just noticed that actually today making the video, so I don't know. There's the only thing that I kind of don't like about the sheath is that, well, for one, I don't know if I would prefer it to be leather if I had picked the materials for it, but it's alright, it's nice. It comes with a lanyard attached right here to this ring. This ring is plastic. This ring here is metal. I got rid of it because I have no use for it. If I was going to hang it from my belt, maybe I'd use this here to tie it off around my leg to keep it stable, keep it from flopping all over the place. But I don't wear it that way, so I had no use for it. Other than this leather strap here, which seems decent quality, there is no way to attach this like to a backpack or anything. There's no way to attach it with molly straps or anything like that. For me, that's not really a huge problem. I kind of would have preferred that, but I just put it in my backpack anyway. Actually, I just keep it in my flow-through pockets, and it works fine like that. No problem. If you're looking for a survival blade, and if the price on this is still the same, I highly recommend this. I think it's excellent. I think for the price, it's really excellent. I think for the price, I don't think you can beat it. It might even be cheaper than the K-Bar Heavy Bowie, which is a smaller knife. And I think if you're willing to carry the little bit of extra weight, and by a little bit, it is a difference that I think is substantial. I mean, it's a difference that I think you would feel. But once you actually get to where you're going, and if you're car camping, it really doesn't matter. This knife will be better. I think it'll hack better. I think it'll split better. It just will be better. It's excellent. I really don't have any complaints. I love it. I want another one. And I suggest that you get one as well. That's my review of the Ontario Spec Plus Marine Raider.